The galaxy had many trade laws. Some laws controlled weapons. Some laws controlled taxes. Some laws controlled travel routes between star systems. But among thousands of rules, there was only one law that every trader feared. A single sentence. Do not cross human territory. It was written in every navigation system. It was repeated in every trading academy. Every captain knew it. And yet, no one explained why. Keeler stood inside the busy control hall of Galactic Trade Station 7. The station was huge. Ships from hundreds of alien species docked there every day. Traders shouted prices. Cargo robots moved heavy containers. Screens showed star maps and trade routes across the galaxy. Keeler watched everything with bright eyes. He was young. Too young, some captains said, to command a trade ship. But Keeler believed something different. He believed the galaxy was full of opportunities. And today, he believed he had found the biggest one. A glowing star map floated in front of him. One trade route blinked in red. The line curved around a large dark region. That region was labeled with a warning. Human territory restricted. Every trade ship avoided that area. They took longer routes around it. Longer routes meant higher costs. Higher costs meant less profit. Keeler leaned closer to the map. If someone flew straight through, he whispered to himself, the trip would be 3 days faster. 3 days. In trading, 3 days could mean millions of credits. Behind him, a deep voice suddenly spoke. Thinking about the forbidden route? Keeler turned around. An old alien captain stood behind him. His name was Captain Vorex. He had been trading across the galaxy for almost 60 years. His fur had turned gray. His eyes were calm but serious. Keeler smiled politely. I was just studying the map. Captain Vorex slowly looked at the blinking human territory. Then he shook his head. Every young trader studies that map, he said quietly. And every smart one learns to stay away. Keeler crossed his arms. But why? He asked. No one explains the rule. Humans are not the biggest empire. Their fleets are not the largest. So why does everyone fear them? Captain Vorex looked at him for a long moment. Then he spoke slowly. Because ships that cross human territory do not come back. Keeler frowned. That sounds like a story to scare new traders. The old captain did not smile. I have been trading for 60 years, Vorex replied. I have seen pirate wars. I have seen empires fall. But I have never seen a ship return after crossing that border. Keeler looked back at the map. The empty region around human territory suddenly felt strange. It was too empty. Even pirates avoided it. Pirates avoided nothing. Later that day, Keeler walked through the docking bay. His ship waited there. The Silver Horizon. It was not the biggest trade vessel, but it was fast. Very fast. His crew waited near the ramp. 3 aliens stood there. Rax, the tall navigator with 4 glowing eyes. Mira, the engineer who could fix almost any engine in the galaxy. And Doran, the security officer who trusted almost no one. Keeler walked toward them with excitement. I found something interesting today, he said. Doran immediately looked suspicious. That sentence always means trouble, he replied. Keeler activated a small star map device. The map appeared in the air between them. Myra's eyes widened immediately. No, she said. You are not thinking about that route. Keeler smiled. It cuts 3 days off our next delivery. Rax shook his head quickly. That area belongs to humans. I know. Then why are we discussing it? Doran asked. Keeler pointed to the empty space around the human territory. Look at it carefully, he said. No pirates. No patrol fleets. No shipping traffic. That means it is dangerous, Mira answered. Or it means everyone believes an old story, Keeler replied. The crew looked at each other nervously. Keeler lowered his voice. Think about the profit. Silence filled the docking bay. Finally, Rax spoke. What if the stories are true? Keeler smiled confidently. Then we will turn around. Doran crossed his arms. And if we cannot? Keeler did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the map again. Then he said quietly, then we will become the first traders who survived it. Hours later, the Silver Horizon left the station. Stars stretched into long lines as the ship entered faster than light travel. Inside the bridge, the crew worked silently. No one looked relaxed. Rax monitored the navigation systems. Approaching human border, he said. Mira checked the engines again. Everything is ready. Doran stood near the door with his arms folded. Keeler sat in the captain's chair. His eyes stayed on the front screen. Drop from FTL, he ordered. The ship slowed down. Stars returned to normal. For a moment, everything looked peaceful. The star system was quiet. No ships. No stations. No signals. Just empty space. Mira looked around nervously. This place feels wrong. Rax checked the scanners. I see nothing, he reported. Keeler smiled. See? Just empty space. He leaned back in his chair. Prepare to continue through human territory. Suddenly, the scanner alarm screamed. Rax jumped from his seat. That is impossible. What? Keeler asked. Ships. How many? Rax stared at the screen in shock. Thousands. Before Keeler could speak again, the empty space around them changed. Dark shapes appeared everywhere. Huge warships. Hundreds, then thousands of them. They had been hidden somehow. Invisible. Now they surrounded the silver horizon from every direction. Mira whispered softly. Oh no. Doran slowly reached for his weapon. Keeler stared at the massive fleet in disbelief. How did they appear so fast? Rax answered with fear in his voice. They didn't appear. They were already here. A calm human voice suddenly filled the bridge. It came through the communication system. Clear. Cold. Controlled. Unknown vessel, the voice said. You have entered restricted human territory. The crew froze. Keeler slowly activated the comm screen. A human officer appeared. She wore a dark uniform. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp and serious. I am Commander Elena Ward of the Terran Defense Fleet, she said. State your purpose. Keeler swallowed. We are traders, he answered. You crossed a restricted border, the commander replied. Yes. Silence filled the bridge for a moment. Then Keeler asked the question he had been wondering for hours. Why is this territory forbidden? Commander Ward studied him quietly. Then she spoke a single sentence. Because this border protects the galaxy. Keeler frowned. From what? The commander looked past the camera for a moment. Then back at him. You will understand soon. Suddenly, every human ship around them changed position. Fleets moved with perfect coordination. Weapons powered up. Alarms sounded across the silver horizon. Rax shouted from the navigation console. Captain, massive signal detected in deep space. Keeler's heart started beating faster. What kind of signal? Rax looked terrified. Something very large. Commander Ward spoke again through the comm system. Her voice was calm, but now it carried a new tone. Warning. You should not have crossed this border, she said quietly. Keeler felt a cold feeling in his chest. Why? The commander answered with 3 simple words. Because it heard you. Far beyond the human fleet. Something in the darkness of space moved. And every human warship began preparing for war. The bridge of the silver horizon was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Outside the main window, thousands of human warships filled space like a dark metal wall. Each ship held position with perfect control. Their engines glowed softly. Their weapons slowly powered up. The small trading ship suddenly felt very fragile. Keeler sat in the captain's chair, staring at the massive fleet. He had expected warnings. Maybe a patrol ship. Maybe a fine. But not this. Thousands of warships. And they had appeared from nowhere. Rax checked the scanners again and again. But the result never changed. They were invisible, he whispered. How can a fleet hide like that? Mira shook her head slowly. This is not normal technology. Doran stood near the door, watching the human ships carefully. They were waiting, he said. Keeler looked at the communication screen again. Commander Elena Ward was still there. Her face showed no fear. Only focus. Behind her, other humans moved quickly across the command bridge. Officers spoke to each other. Screens flashed with warnings. Tactical maps changed every second. But no one panicked. It was like they had trained for this moment many times. Keeler leaned forward. You said something hurt us, he said. What did you mean? Commander Ward looked directly at him. For a moment she did not answer. Then she asked a different question. Captain Keeler, do you know why the galaxy created the rule about human territory? Keeler shook his head. No one explains it. That is correct, she said. Because most species would not believe the truth. Keeler frowned. Then tell me. The commander took a slow breath. Then she spoke. Humans did not create that rule for power. We created it as a warning. Before Keeler could ask more questions, the alarms on the human ships suddenly became louder. Red lights flashed across the fleet. New signals appeared on the scanners. Rax looked at his screen and froze. Captain, what is it? Keeler asked. There is something moving in deep space. How big? Rax zoomed the scanner image. The object was still very far away. But even at that distance, it looked enormous. Commander, Keeler said quickly. What is that? Commander Ward looked at her own screen. Her expression changed slightly. Not fear, but recognition. It woke up faster than expected, she said quietly. Mira spoke nervously. What woke up? Commander Ward turned back to Keeler. Something very old. Inside the human fleet, ships began moving. Large warships shifted positions. Smaller defense ships spread out across the border. Missile platforms activated. Energy shields powered up. The formation looked like a giant metal wall between the galaxy and the dark region beyond. Keeler watched the movement with amazement. How many ships do you have here? He asked. Commander Ward answered calmly. Enough. Keeler noticed something strange. The human fleet was not moving toward the unknown signal. They were moving in front of it, blocking it, like a shield. Doran noticed it too. They are not preparing to attack, he said. They are preparing to hold a line. Commander Ward heard him. Yes, she replied. Because that is our job. Keeler leaned forward again. What is coming? The commander studied him for a long moment. Then she made a decision. Captain Keeler, she said, your ship has already triggered the sensor network. It means the situation cannot remain secret anymore. Keeler blinked. Sensor network? Commander Ward activated a large holographic map. The map expanded in the air between them. It showed a huge region of space. Human territory was only a small part of it. But beyond it, there were hundreds of small points. Satellites. Thousands of them. They watch the darkness beyond our border, the commander explained. For centuries. Mira looked shocked. You built a wall of sensors across half a galaxy? Yes. Why? Commander Ward pointed to the dark area on the map. Because something lives there. Silence filled the bridge. Rax spoke carefully. You mean an empire? No. The commander's voice was calm. Something worse. The map zoomed deeper into the dark region. Ancient signals appeared. Broken ships. Destroyed planets. Old battle markers. Keeler felt cold. What happened here? He asked. Commander Ward answered slowly. 200 years ago, human explorers traveled beyond this region. They found ruins. Entire civilizations destroyed. No survivors. Doran frowned. Destroyed by what? The commander zoomed the map again. A large symbol appeared. We did not know at first, she said. But then we found it. Keeler stared at the symbol. What is it? Commander Ward spoke a single word. Predators. Suddenly, the scanner alarms on the silver horizon screamed again. Rax nearly jumped from his seat. The signal is getting stronger. Keeler looked at the screen. The unknown object was moving faster now. Much faster. And now they could see more shapes behind it. Not one ship. Many ships. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. But they did not look like normal ships. Their shapes were strange. Sharp. Uneven. Almost organic. Like giant metal creatures moving through space. Mira whispered in fear. What are those things? Commander Ward answered immediately. The enemy. The human fleet began sending orders across the entire formation. Every ship changed position again. Weapons fully powered. Fighter squadrons launched from carriers. Massive cannons rotated toward the darkness. But still, no panic. Only discipline. Keeler looked at the approaching fleet. They are huge, he said. Yes, the commander replied. And they do not negotiate. Doran asked quietly. How many times have they attacked? Commander Ward looked at the battle records. 7 times in 2 centuries. And every time, she continued, the human fleet stopped them here. Keeler felt something strange inside his chest. Respect. The galaxy believed humans were guarding their own territory. But that was not the truth. They were guarding everyone else. Rax suddenly spoke again. Captain, new signal detected. What now? Rax zoomed the scanners further. The approaching enemy fleet was spreading out, preparing for battle. And their numbers kept growing. Commander, Keeler said quietly. How big is their fleet this time? Commander Ward looked at the tactical screen. Then she answered honestly. Bigger than before. Mira looked terrified. Can you stop them? The commander did not hesitate. We will try. Outside the window, the human fleet now formed a perfect defensive line. Thousands of ships side by side. Engines glowing. Weapons ready. Waiting. Commander Ward spoke one final time to Keeler. Captain, your ship will move behind our defense line. You will remain there until the battle ends. Keeler nodded slowly. And if you lose? The commander looked toward the approaching darkness. Her answer was simple. Then the galaxy will finally learn why that trade law exists. Keeler watched the human fleet one more time. Thousands of ships ready to fight an unknown enemy. Not for power, not for money, but to protect everyone behind them. Suddenly, the enemy fleet entered visible range. The strange ships looked even more terrifying up close. And they kept coming. Commander Ward raised her hand. All fleets, she said across the human network. Battle stations. A deep silence filled space. Then, the first enemy ship fired, and the war for the border began. The first enemy shot lit up the darkness of space. A long beam of strange purple energy crossed the void and struck the outer edge of the human defense line. The blast hit one of the human ships. For a moment, the ship disappeared inside the bright explosion. Keeler felt his chest tighten. But when the light faded, the human ship was still there. Its shields glowed bright blue, holding strong. Commander Elena Ward's voice came across the human fleet channel. Hold the line. Thousands of human ships answered at once. Copy that. On the bridge of the Silver Horizon, Keeler and his crew watched everything on their screens. None of them spoke. They had never seen a fleet battle before. Not like this. The enemy ships moved closer. Their shapes were strange and terrifying. Their hulls looked like dark metal bones twisted together. Some ships were long and thin. Others were huge and wide like floating cities. They did not fly in normal formations. Instead, they spread across space like a hunting pack. Rax stared at the scanner readings. Captain, their numbers keep increasing. How many? Keeler asked. At least 4,000 ships. Mira shook her head slowly. That is impossible for one species. Commander Ward's voice returned through the comm channel. Captain Keeler, stay behind the defense line. We are not moving, Keeler replied. He watched the human fleet again. Thousands of ships floating in a perfect wall. Each ship exactly where it needed to be. Not one ship moved out of position. The enemy fleet fired again. This time dozens of purple beams shot across space. Human shields flared everywhere. Several explosions shook the line. But the human formation stayed strong. Then the human fleet answered. Hundreds of bright missiles launched at once. They flew through space like a storm of light. Railgun cannons fired long metal projectiles. Laser weapons burned through the darkness. The first enemy ships exploded seconds later. Keeler watched in shock. Human weapons were incredibly precise. Every shot had a target. Every missile knew exactly where to go. The battle had truly begun. Inside the human command ship, Commander Ward studied the battlefield. Large tactical screens showed every ship. Enemy movements updated every second. Human officers worked calmly around her. Enemy fleet speed increasing, one officer said. They are trying to break the center line. Ward nodded. Shift Defense Group 3 forward. Yes, Commander. A group of heavy human battleships moved slightly ahead of the main line. Their massive cannons powered up. Another officer spoke. Enemy boarding ships detected. Ward's eyes narrowed. Send interceptor fighters. Within seconds, hundreds of small human fighters launched from nearby carriers. They rushed toward the enemy ships like fast metal arrows. Ward crossed her arms. The enemy had changed tactics many times during past battles. But humans had learned. Every battle had taught them something new. And humans were very good at learning. On the Silver Horizon, Keeler leaned closer to the screen. Human fighters were weaving between the large enemy ships. Explosions flashed everywhere. Rax suddenly spoke again. Captain, look at this. He zoomed in on a strange enemy vessel. It was bigger than the others. Much bigger. And it was moving straight toward the center of the human defense line. What is that? Mira asked. Before Keeler could answer, Commander Ward appeared on the communication screen again. Her voice was serious. That is their command ship. Keeler stared at it. The ship looked like a giant black claw. Is that bad? He asked. Ward nodded once. Yes. Very bad. Doran stepped forward. What happens if it reaches the line? The commander answered honestly. It will try to break through. And if it succeeds? She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Keeler looked back at the human fleet. Thousands of ships were fighting hard. But the enemy command ship kept moving forward. Nothing seemed to slow it down. Purple energy beams destroyed several human ships in seconds. Keeler felt anger growing inside him. Those human ships had protected his crew. and now they were being destroyed. "Commander," he said suddenly. "Yes. Why not retreat?" The commander looked surprised. "We cannot retreat." "Why not?" Ward pointed behind the human fleet. Keeler followed her finger. Behind the defense line, the galaxy continued. Trade routes, planets, civilizations, billions of lives. "If we retreat," she said quietly, "the enemy will enter the galaxy." Keeler slowly understood. This battle was not about territory. It was about survival. Humans were standing between the galaxy and extinction. The enemy command ship suddenly fired a massive weapon. A giant beam of dark energy shot forward. 3 human ships disappeared instantly. The center of the defense line shook. Rax shouted from his station. "Their command ship is breaking through." Commander Ward turned to her officers. "Deploy the Hammer Group." Keeler blinked. "Hammer Group?" Ward smiled slightly. "You are about to see something interesting." Far behind the human defense line, space suddenly opened. Huge shapes appeared. More human ships. But these ships were different. They were enormous. Bigger than anything Keeler had seen before. Each ship carried massive cannons along its sides. Mira whispered in shock. "Those ships are gigantic." Ward nodded proudly. "Human dreadnoughts." The new ships moved forward slowly. Their engines glowed like small stars. The enemy command ship continued firing. But the dreadnoughts did not stop. Then their cannons powered up. Keeler covered his eyes as the weapons fired. The blast of light was enormous. A wave of energy crossed space and slammed into the enemy command ship. The impact was devastating. The giant alien ship shook violently. Pieces of its hull broke away. But it was still alive. Rax stared at the screen. "It survived." Ward nodded again. "They always do." The enemy command ship began charging another weapon. But this time, human fighters rushed toward it from every direction. Hundreds of small ships attacked the weak points in its armor. Missiles exploded across its surface. Railgun rounds punched deep holes into its structure. Finally, the massive alien ship cracked. A bright explosion tore through its center. Then the entire command ship shattered into thousands of burning pieces. Silence filled space for one moment. Then the remaining enemy ships began to retreat. Rax gasped. "They are running." Keeler watched the alien fleet escape back into the darkness. The human fleet did not chase them. They simply held the line. Exactly where they had always stood. Commander Ward spoke calmly. Enemy fleet retreating. Human officers around her relaxed slightly. But the fleet did not celebrate. They simply returned to their defensive positions. Keeler stared at the battlefield. Broken ships floated everywhere. Some human ships were damaged. Some were gone forever. But the line still stood. Unbroken. Keeler finally spoke quietly. "Now I understand." Ward looked at him. "Understand what?" Keeler looked at the star map again. At the forbidden border. At the silent line humans had protected for centuries. He took a slow breath. "The trade law," he said. Ward smiled slightly. "Yes." Keeler nodded slowly. "Don't cross human territory." Ward corrected him gently. "It is not a rule." Keeler frowned. "Then what is it?" The commander answered in a calm voice. "It is a warning." Behind them, the human fleet once again became silent. Watching the darkness. Waiting. Ready for the next time the enemy returned. Space slowly became quiet again. The enemy fleet had disappeared back into the dark region beyond human territory. Only broken ships and drifting metal remained on the battlefield. Small rescue ships moved carefully between the damaged vessels. Human crews worked fast. They pulled survivors from damaged hulls. They repaired shields and engines. They recovered escape pods. The war had ended for now. But the human fleet stayed in position. They did not celebrate. They did not relax. They simply held the line. Just like they always did. Inside the silver horizon, Keeler stood silently near the bridge window. The battle had changed something inside him. He had entered human territory for profit. For curiosity. For adventure. But now he understood the truth. Humans were not protecting their empire. They were protecting everyone else. Rax slowly turned away from the scanner. "The enemy fleet is gone," he said quietly. Mira checked the system logs. "Human losses are heavy," she added softly. Doran crossed his arms. "But they still won." Keeler nodded slowly. "Yes." At that moment, the communication screen turned on again. Commander Elena Ward appeared once more. Her uniform showed signs of the battle. But her face remained calm and focused. "Captain Keeler," she said. You and your crew are free to leave. Keeler blinked in surprise. You are letting us go? Yes. But we crossed your territory. Commander Ward nodded. You did. Then why release us? The commander was silent for a moment. Then she answered. Because now you know the truth. Keeler looked down for a second. Yes, I do. The silver horizon slowly moved away from the battlefield. Human warships opened a safe path for the small trading vessel. As the ship passed the massive fleet, Keeler looked at the giant warships surrounding him. Some ships were damaged. Some were still burning. But they remained in formation, watching the darkness beyond the border, guarding the galaxy. Keeler spoke quietly. Commander Ward. Yes, Captain? How long have humans been doing this? The commander answered simply. 212 years. Keeler was shocked. That long? Yes. No one in the galaxy knows. Ward gave a small smile. They do not need to know. Why not? Because if the galaxy believed humans were the only defense. She paused. Panic would spread everywhere. Keeler slowly understood. So humans carried the burden alone. Silently. Without recognition. Without reward. Just responsibility. The silver horizon soon reached the edge of human territory. The final border. Beyond this point, normal trade routes continued across the galaxy. Keeler looked at the stars outside the window. He felt different now. Like he had seen something important. Something the galaxy had forgotten. Before the ship left, Commander Ward spoke one final time. Captain Keeler. Yes. Tell the others. Keeler frowned slightly. Tell them what? The commander looked directly into the camera. Tell them why the rule exists. Then the communication channel closed. The human fleet disappeared from view. And the silver horizon jumped into faster-than-light travel. 3 days later, the ship arrived back at Galactic Trade Station 7. The station looked just as busy as before. Ships moved everywhere. Traders shouted across cargo docks. Nothing had changed. But Keeler had. As soon as his ship docked, several traders approached him. News traveled quickly on the station. They had heard where Keeler had gone. A tall insect-like trader spoke first. You crossed human territory, he said. Another trader added quickly. Did you really do it? Captain Vorax, the old trader, also walked toward them slowly. His old eyes studied Keeler carefully. Well, he asked. Did you find your shortcut? The group waited for Keeler's answer. For a moment, Keeler said nothing. He simply looked at the large star map displayed in the station hall. Human territory glowed in red. The forbidden zone. The place every trader avoided. Before this journey, Keeler had believed the law was a mystery. Or a myth. Or maybe just human pride. But now he knew the truth. The truth was far more serious. Far more important. Keeler finally spoke. Yes, he said. I crossed human territory. The traders around him leaned closer. What happened? Did they attack you? Did they arrest you? Captain Vorax simply watched quietly. Keeler took a slow breath. Then he told them everything. He explained the hidden fleet. He explained the ancient enemy beyond the border. He explained the battle. He explained how humans had stood between the galaxy and destruction for centuries. The crowd slowly became silent. No one interrupted him. No one laughed. When Keeler finished speaking, the room remained quiet. The insect trader finally spoke. You expect us to believe that story? Keeler looked directly at him. You do not have to believe it. But it is the truth. Another trader asked nervously. So the law is real? Keeler nodded slowly. Yes. Captain Vorax stepped forward. His old eyes looked thoughtful. So that is the reason, he said quietly. Keeler looked at him. Yes. Vorax slowly turned toward the star map. The glowing red border of human territory. The old captain nodded slowly. I always wondered, he said. Keeler crossed his arms. Then he spoke the sentence every trader knew. There is only one trade law in the galaxy. The crowd listened carefully. Keeler finished the sentence quietly. Don't cross human territory. A young trader nearby laughed nervously. That rule is old. Yes, Keeler replied. But now I know why it exists. The crowd waited. Keeler looked at the red border again. Then he said the final words. Because humans are the only thing standing between us. And what waits in the dark? Silence filled the station hall. No one laughed this time. No one questioned him. Far away, beyond the trade routes. Beyond the peaceful systems. The human fleet still guarded the silent border. Watching the darkness. Waiting. Ready. Because they knew something the rest of the galaxy did not. The trade law was not a warning about humans. It was a warning about what humans were protecting everyone from. And that was why. No one who understood the truth would ever cross human territory again. The end rocket.